Department promising to root out corruption. It's alleged that some officials are receiving bribes from motorists and learner drivers. Well, Minister Fikile Mbabula making a surprise inspection at the Temba Centre in Hammanskraal in Pretoria this morning. Masego Rahlaga is there with him now. Masego, was there an element of surprise? What did the minister find?
Well, Yuveka, first of all, it was shocking to find out from the minister that in Gauteng alone, our backlog for the renewal of licenses is sitting at 300,000. And that is why the MEC of Transport in the province, Jacob Mamabolo, speaking to the minister, letting him know that there are some interventions that will take place. You remember, ENCA had that focus on Monday where we spread across many parts of the country, talking to individuals at different testing stations about this problem. And one of the interventions that the minister alluded to that the MEC promised is that from Monday, the 16th of November, that's next week, 70% of the slots that are given at different licensing stations in this province will be particularly for the renewal of licenses. But in terms of what he found, the minister is here himself. Minister, you've come to Temba at the testing station. What is it that the minister found when he got here that was alarming?
There is lack of capacity, and we need to obviously upgrade our systems, which is what is in the pipeline. And over and above that, we also speak to issues of personnel, which basically collude in terms of this corruption and the backlog that we are facing here. These are some of the things that require rigorous attention. And over and above that, communities in and around here, they basically say that they don't have access to internet. The system must reform to accommodate them for walkings and all of that. So from our side, it is modernization, but over and above, it is a stopgap measure that we're introducing with the Department of Gauteng and RTMC to ensure that we push back the backlog. We will introduce the overtime into it, and then we push it back hard, and there is negotiation with labor, the unions, to ensure that there is agreement in that particular regard. And so we are confident that this, in a few weeks' time, will be something of the past. I will work with my team and seek advice on extension of validity for those who are affected by this, because they are facing the ruthlessness of the law as we maintain it out there. And then it is the fault of not their making. It is our system. So what do we do with regard to that? As Minister of Transport, I will consult with my team and the department and my legal team. And then from there, next week, I'll give pronouncement on that as we actually address the challenges we are facing in this regard.
Minister, just speak to us also about the corruption that investigations have found in terms of people who work here and the runners who wait outside.
Well, it's an all-round collusion that is happening here. And this thing is happening here in Temba, is happening everywhere. You know, the runners, the people who come here, and the devolution to, you know, driver learner schools and all of that introduce this sort of corruption. But we can't fold our arms. We've got law enforcement. RTMC has got law enforcement. It is law enforcement. It must execute, working with the metros and everybody else. This is a law enforcement center. So those who are doing this, they will continue to have a license to do so if ever they are not tampered with. Corruption will grow exponentially. But we've got to also undermine it in terms of our own systems. People here in the centers like this must be subjected to body camps, because you can't only rely on, Holy Spirit, that they can marshal themselves. But secondly, there's got to be human, intervention in relation to inspecting places like this. People have been crying about corruption in licensing centers for donkeys now. We've got to deal with that, and we've got to have a formidable response. And unfortunately, you can't preach to corruption. You must eradicate it. You must deal with it in terms of the systems, and so that the next person can see that government is serious. Like Mao Zedong says, deal with one to educate others.
Now, Minister, saying that people have been complaining about corruption within the transport industry for long is quite true. Now that you're at the helm in this department, what are some of the things that you're going to do to eradicate this? For instance, the MEC in the province saying from December there'll be some investigations into bribery and corruption, but you're the principal and the face of this department throughout the country. What is the difference that you're going to make sure that all of these complaints stop now?
Department of Transport is a concurrent, a department. It means people have got powers. If it were according to me, I will do certain things of immediate. I'm going to take this to the MINMEC of transport, and then once those measures have been concretized and agreed, I'll be able to pronounce. And that MINMEC to focus simply on this will convene it in the next 2 weeks. And then once I've got concurrence with the MECs and the department, the head of departments and the DGs, I will be able then to put those measures into place. And that is what I'm going to be doing in looking at this particular process and problem and the challenge holistically.
Thank you very much, Iveka. We have to let the minister go. He has another meeting at 11 o'clock, but indicate to me if I still have time. I want to speak to some of the people who've been listening to the minister, agreeing with some of the things that he's been saying. I don't know if any one of you here are runners. Is anyone here a runner? All right. It seems the people who are here don't want to speak anymore. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you just come forward for me a little bit? Are you a runner for here? Are you a runner or are you a customer? What are you doing here today?
Yes, I'm here to. They don't give here the driving license, and for my brother is expired for driving license. They didn't renew here.
So how long has your license been expired?
Now is almost 1 year.
Oh, okay. So why haven't you been renewing your license for an entire year?
They're going to give the appointment, and when we are coming and they said you must come next time, and they didn't renew. Yes.
Well, Iveka, you will remember that the MEC spokesperson, Theo Nkonki, about a month ago did tell me that this backlog, it's not only due to COVID. It actually is an extension of a backlog that already existed before licensing stations couldn't operate during harsher lockdown. Now, I don't know if there's anybody else, but did you want to come forward and speak quickly? Are you a runner, Puti, or what are you doing here?
School owner.
Okay, so you're a driving school owner. The minister today saying that there's corruption and colluding happening between driving school owners, runners, and people who work here. What do you know from your owning of a driving school?
As a driving school owner, I don't know nothing about that corruption. But what I know, it's the system that gives us a problem here. Because if we are in a rural area here, then you cannot get that system. You know, it's the data. We need to use the data to get in the system. That is the problem that we had for the system. Nothing else.
Have you ever had a client who was compelled, for instance, to pay a bribe when they come test for a driving license?
Not yet, nope.
Not yet, being the operative word. Okay, Puti, thank you so much for your time. I don't know if anybody else just wants to speak about, Baba, you're live on ENCA. What are you doing here? Do you own a driving school? What are some of the issues that you want the minister and the government to know about testing stations?
Yes, I am owner of a driving school, and more than that, I'm a chairperson of the driving school association here. About the corruption that is being spoken about here, I don't know much about that. The only major problem that we people are having here, particularly that we are driving school owners, is the system that is being introduced for making up appointments. It requires people who are very, very, very able to can use a cell phone to get appointments. Our elderly people are deep rural areas, they don't have internet yet. And then we would like the government to reintroduce the walk-in booking system for those people who cannot get, who don't have access to this internet and the capability to use these modern cell phones. It's a major problem that we know. About the corruption, I am sorry. Most of the time at my office, I don't know what is actually happening here.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Now, Yuveka, of course, people here are saying that they cannot divulge anything about any corruption, but most people are complaining about the system. But I just want to mention before I go, Yuveka, that the minister put it on record that he wants to thank ENCA in particular for that focus we had on Monday this week, highlighting the issues that are found at these testing license stations.
And Masego, I can only agree about the system. Just a week ago, with an appointment, after trying for weeks and weeks to get one, with an appointment, still standing there for 2 hours, literally, to renew my driver's license as well. It's a very difficult system, and while I was trying to book mine, I couldn't help but think of people who don't have that kind of technology, don't have the means to get onto the e-nature system and actually find that appointment. It is dire, and then you wonder why corruption exists in the first place.